Hi, you are today at the new moon in the tropical zodiac of, oh, that was not an earthquake, in the tropical sign of Leo. And in the Eastern system, in the sidereal zodiac, or in the Jyotish, we would say that this new moon is in the nakshatra of Ashlesha. Welcome to I Am Soma, Nectar of the Gods, and so are you. My name is Sophia, and I have wanted to come on today because it's such an incredible, pivotal time in our lives, right? In the year, actually, on the annual cycle of the rotation of the year. And we find ourselves in a fixed sign in the tropical zodiac, and fixed meaning we're in the portion of the zodiac that is in between the cardinal and the mutable, right? So in Leo, the cardinal would have been the sign prior to it, which is Cancer. So Cancer is a cardinal sign. The cardinal signs are initiators. They initiate the season, for example, and in that way, when we carry that energy within us, so when we have a sun or the moon or an ascendant in a cardinal sign, we are that force lives within us where we initiate activities. Right now, we're in the fixed sign. It's the middle sign within the zodiacal wheel that ushers in the new season. So the new season is ushered in the summer in Cancer, and then we have the middle point in Leo, and then we move into Virgo, and then in Libra we usher in the fall. And so Libra is also a cardinal sign, and so it initiates a new season. I say all of that to also highlight that if we are then looking at the zodiacal wheel in terms of when the year begins, we are just past what would have been the full moon. The new moon would have been in the opposite sign in Aquarius in February, right? So that's the winter season. So we've just reached the full moon. We're going to reach a full moon in the sign of Leo for what was initiated at that time. In the previous month, in July, we ushered in what would have been the full moon for the year, because on the opposite axis, we have Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is when we have the end of the year, right? And so we are now at the opposite side. So that was what's happened in the past month, may have been initiated during the Christmas season, the month of December. And if we're looking at this time of the year as being the fullness of time of what was begun at the beginning of the year in the signs of Sagittarius Capricorn axis, then we understand that this would be the equivalent of a full moon, because it's opposite. So the newness of time, which initiated the new year, comes to its fullness in the sign of Cancer. And so right now we're moving into the season of growth, and the season of growth carries with it all the actions and activities and emotions and the like that we have engaged in since the year began. And so this is a time of the growing of the fruit, right? Because harvest season is just right around the corner once we go into fall, and there are 3 different stages of that, or 3 different fruitful events, right? Like that are going to be taking place during the fall, that are initiated by Virgo, Libra, and then Scorpio. So Leo would be the sign that where we grow the fruit that will be harvested. And so the seed stage was in December, January. And so that whatever was given life to at that time, and I mean at the deepest level of our consciousness, right? The deepest level of our being is now in full force. And so in that respect, it is an incredibly powerful time. In addition, this time of the year, this new moon is in the Eastern system, which is composed of 27 different lunar mansions, which are called nakshatras. It's taking place in the nakshatra of Ashlesha, depending on your pronunciation. Mine may be off, but it's Ashlesha. And so, and that nakshatra is known as the Serpent nakshatra, right? Ashlesha is ruled by the Nagas, and the Nagas are serpent deities. And the serpent deities correspond to impulses in consciousness, right? If we understand that the neurobiology, when we are thinking, there are electrical synapses that take place, that send information, that help us communicate information within the brain. I liken these serpents to that process of the neurobiology, which fires and creates new connections. And so it has to do with our cognitive functioning and our owning of our creative power. And that creative power is by way of thought. And there's a stirring that happens within consciousness that gives rise to thought, and then thoughts become actions, and actions bring us to the fulfillment of those thoughts. And so this is why this is a time of great care, of great self-love, of great self-awareness, so that we are able to harness what could be a whirlpool of energetic potential that can go in the direction of those things that we least want to manifest in our life. But we're going to keep the conversation in the positive and assume that you've been doing the inner work necessary to be able to bring your consciousness and your thoughts, which will cause for this electrical firing within the neurobiology, to bring up the thoughts that you most want to be able to bring into life, because that's what we're doing at this stage of development within the annual cycle, right? So we've just reached, and actually this point is a pivotal point that is marked by the pagan calendar. And I would try to say this word, but I am not going to be able to, but it's also known as Lunasa. And it marks a time when, if we think about when we consider the lunar phases, it's right after fullness. So right after the full moon, we go into a disseminating phase. And that disseminating phase is when we see the fruits of the monthly cycle of the moon. Well, if we think of the earth as having the same phases and the sun as having those same phases imprinted within it, then we understand that we're just past the fullness, which will bring in the harvest. But I don't want to confuse you with, I don't want to confuse myself either with thinking that we are at the new moon. But it's the new moon which will bring to fruition the entire lunar and earth cycle for the year. And then we go into the harvesting of those fruits. And the fruits will be the fruits of our heart, the fruits of our thoughts, the fruits of our actions. And so that is what is being initiated at this time. And that's why it is so crucially important to pay attention. And when we are in the phase, the earth phase, right? We're talking about the earth going into its full expression of creative intelligence during the summer, right? So it's almost like the train has left the station and it's now going to produce that which was placed in the different wagons based on the train of thought, right? So we're going into a phase where we harness the fact that the knowledge of others is secondary to our own personal experience. This is a time of really sitting in a fixed place within ourselves that we know what we know. You know, when you know, you know. And so what is most valuable at this time is that inner knowing, that inner knowledge that is based on the experience, and the experience of others is always secondary to our own personal experience, to our own inner knowing of what is, right? And we learn from what has and has not worked. Only a fool continues to make the same mistakes, expecting different results. So the experience of others is secondary to our own, and we're fools when we don't learn from what we know. You know, we act based on what others are saying and like that. So that's not going to work right now. And I impressed that upon myself first. So this is a sharing of my own personal journal, of my own personal experiences and what I've learned, and how I hope that that can illuminate some understanding within yourself about what this season and what this new moon is ushering in, which is really harnessing of that serpent energy, which is known as a creative life force, even within, if we use the comparison that I used earlier about the thoughts that we have and the different connections that that creates, creating a new network of possibilities within the structuring of our own thinking, and those serpents that we're creating in our head. And we understand that the creative life force, that creative power, which is Shakti, which is energy within us, that creative intelligence, when harnessed and used appropriately, can bring to life that which we will reap, and we always reap what we sow, at the harvest season that is upon us in the coming 3 months after the month of August. So the month of August is that center point of pure potential, creative energy, power in leadership, in healing the inner child. The child is also the child, what we conceive in our minds. So our thoughts are our children as well as our physical children, right? Which are an expression of our most creative superpower, which is the power to bring a soul into being on this planet. And just like that, you're bringing the soul energy of events, people, places, and things into this planet at this time. And we can only receive what we deserve. It's interesting because one of my teachers, Maharshi Mahesh Yogi, often said that, you know, deserve then desire, right? So we first deserve that which we feel we want in our life, right? So we do the work, we do whatever it is, we get clear in our minds and in our heart and in our emotional self we do the inner work necessary so that we can see a reflection of that in our outer world, because that what the outer world is showing you is a reflection of your own inner life, right? So when we understand that, we understand the pivotal moment that this Leo season brings. Leo season is full of drama. It is actually quite high, actors and people in theater have a lot of them, and if they don't, they play that out in their own lives. They have a luminary placement within the sign of Leo. It's known as the sign of theater, of drama. And so this is the stage. This is the stage that has been created since that first new moon at the new year. As we go, the zodiac wheel, beginning with Capricorn, Aquarius, right? Capricorn, the foundation, the building, the stage, right? That structure upon which we build as the year progresses. And then in Aquarius, we are, with our tribe, with humanity, and we are looking to grow. And then comes the spring season, and we begin to see the growth of the darkness, what we planted, the seeds that we plant during that pivotal time in December and the months right before that. And so right now, we are at a time when we either accept the abundance that the universe is offering us, right? And share it with others and come from a place of inner peace, or we can become like that Leo energy, which wants what it wants. And so the heart wants what it wants. And only by letting it go, which is another lesson that we learned from the serpent energy, only by letting it go can we really own what we want to achieve during this very potent time on the planet, on the earth. So this season, the season of Leo, is also ushered in by a retrograde of Mercury. And Mercury is right now in the sign of Virgo, going retrograde back into Leo. And Venus will soon be meeting with Mercury, and that will give rise to a more balanced, diplomatic, charming way of communicating our inner life force with the environment. And that's going to be a very important lesson, because when Mercury goes retrograde, it's not necessarily that bad things are going to happen or that everything will fall apart and technology. Those are just some of the significations, and that has more to do, how you experience that has to do with your own personal chart and your own placements, in which house Mercury is placed and which house Venus is placed, and the potential that they have. Mercury is very well placed in Virgo. It actually, that is the sign of where it is Lord. And so when we have Mercury going retrograde in Virgo, Virgo rules the digestive system. So it's super important to take really good care of your digestive system, of cleansing, purification, and your digestion is how you digest information, and information is anything that you bring in through any of your senses, right? So we have the sense of sight, of hearing, we have the sense of touch, we have the sense of taste and scent. And so what have you been feeding yourself, and how are you digesting your emotions is super important during this time. because we are speaking about Virgo, and Virgo's about purity, and purity of the essence of who you are, which is beyond the physical structure, which goes directly to your soul, to your spirit self, right? To your inner, most hidden place within. And so it's a time of perhaps expressing more devotion to those things that you find are truly what offer you the stability to be able to move your life in a forward direction so that you can reap what you sow, and what you're sowing are the seeds of pure potential of the most beautiful, the most avant-garde, the most defining, this is a fixed sign, Leo, the most defining aspects of your highest self. And Mercury rules over is an earth element. It's considered that in tantric traditions and in Hermetic wisdom. And so it's about relating, it's about being sensitive, it's about expressing ourselves. Speech, super important during this time. It's a discriminatory force. So like I said at the beginning, we know what we know. When you know, and you don't go by other people's experiences, because other people's experiences have informed their nervous system and their digestive system and their core of who they are. And so that is not reflective of your reality. And this is when going within and just like knowing yourself to be who you are, and coming upon the world stage, wherever that world stage brings you, and shining your light forth. And that is the highest expression of this seasonal period that we're in. This is, like I said, this is a time where this is the fruit, where the fruit of your labor since the year began actually forms. And if you want to have ripe, juicy fruits, you have to water the root of your life, and the root of your life, water the root to enjoy the fruit. It's also saying that Maharshi Mahesh Yogi made evident for our life. And we do that by going within and stabilizing the forces within your own spirit, within your own inner life, so that when you think, you're thinking from a place of inner knowing, and you're thinking about the things that you want to bring life to, because wherever we put our attention grows in our life. It's also another principle from the Vedic tradition and from the science of creative intelligence. And so we understand that whatever we're giving our attention to is going to grow. So what do we give our attention to? To those things, to those fruits in the tree of our own life that we want to bring to fruition, because a harvest season is just a month away. And when that season rings in, we want to be able to harvest. It's a time of adaptability. We want to move like a serpent around things that come up. We want to own the serpent energy of our thoughts, of our actions, of the beating of our heart. If you think about each beat, leaving an imprint in your environment, and that being a serpentine activity within your spirit, then you have really captured more than I can ever say. Because that is the essence of this time that we're living. Having the power to transform all the poisons within. That is the message of Ashlesha. Ashlesha being the nakshatra, the serpent Nagas, the serpent deity, is here to teach you how to own your creative intelligence, how to own the creative life force, and own it by expressing it in the highest value that you want for your life. That is the essence of this new moon. And if you capture that and you live up to that, no matter what comes between now and the full moon, you will see the growth of the highest level of potential and possibilities that exist at your life for creation, for creating that which you want to give life to during the time of Leo. And remember, hurt people, and we steer clear of their presence. You're not going to convince someone who's hurt that life is something other than the pain. They're in pain. Let them heal themselves. Let go of attachments. Ashlesha has the power to inflict venom and destroy its victim. That power to inflict hurt people. We're talking, and whatever you have coming, right? So you can bind by having those thoughts and sending out your energy. Your thoughts are your power. That is your power line. It is creating networks of connectivity within your own brain. The brain has a quality of neuroplasticity, which simply means that the brain changes with every experience. And if you continuously give your brain the experience of hurt and pain and victimhood and martyrdom, and you have a savior complex where you're out trying to save everyone, is not realizing that that pain exists within yourself, and that only by going within will you be able to heal it. You can put band-aids on other people all you want, but it's really within you. And so coming back to the self again, and I keep stressing this in practically all the videos that I have made recently, I keep stressing the power of meditation, the power of sitting within, the power of stabilizing, that functioning within that allows you to be still and know that I am God, that force, the kingdom of heaven lies within. Heaven is the peace, interior peace that you have within your own life. You can give that away, or you can, and you give it away by living it, right? So you live your best life. That's how you give it away. We lead by example. And in the sign of leadership, that is the sign of Leo, we lead the example. We set the example by living our best life, healing the inner child so that you don't get caught in the minutia of other people's hurt. And that's why letting go of attachments is so important. This month, for those of you who work with stones, cat's eye is a stone that helps you to harness this energy. If you're doing that, if you think that this is silly, then it's not for you. That's all it is. Leave it for someone else, right? Vision boards. If you're feeling silly creating a vision board, then it means that you have not yet owned the power of the inner vision of your life. So if you're feeling silly about it, then that's not the activity for you. If auto-suggestion by self-affirmation feels silly to you, then you have not yet owned the power of your throat, of your ability to speak into existence by affirming that which you know it's true. And unless you know it's true, it's not going to work. So find what that ritual is that, that brings you to empowerment, because this is about embodying the knowledge, right? So if you're not embodying the knowledge, then you're not expressing an inner illumination and enlightenment of inner knowing. And if you can't do that via these different practices, which are simply a way that we bring our spiritual value into the creative force that is our life. That's, there's also fire. You can stare at a candle flame, and if that brings clearing and purification to, and it does bring purification into your physiology, into your body, then that's the way to go. If you like working with scents, then scent aromatherapy, then that's the way to go. Don't go by what other people are doing or what's working for somebody else. Find what resonates with your own inner life. And right now, there's a capacity to do that because we're dealing with the Nagas, we're dealing with that serpentine energy that is the creative life force and power within you, and brings in the power of manifestation and inner knowing, which is the light within. So give that life. I hope that you have enjoyed this. I hope that these insights have brought to light some aspect of consciousness that you can participate with. Consciousness is participatory. You are sending out energy into the environment of this incredibly fired up time. Fire is another great energy to work with during this time. The sight of fire, lighting a candle, really spending time with that energy is very potent, because it's actually, and the serpentine, it's also the flickering of the flame. So I hope that this has been powerful for you. It's a very powerful time. In the next 2 days, the new moon is still in effect. There's incredible power at this time. Being clear and spending time with yourself and just getting super creative with your time and your space, drawing, painting, singing, burning that which you no longer want in your life, maybe writing it down on a piece of paper and placing it on the fire. Be careful. Obviously, we don't want to we want to set the world on fire within, not without. And the color green, if you want to strengthen the power of Mercury, is very, very highlighted during this time as well. And I think I'm going to leave you with that. Yeah. So the messenger of the gods is speaking to you. Mercury is very potent right now. It is laser sharp. Sit in silence, close your eyes, and call that which you are, which is consciousness. Consciousness is experienced by the human physiology. Consciousness is primary, it is everywhere. So what we want to do is connect to the consciousness of all that is, which most people call God. And you are that life force. Believe it, know it, and it is, because you are creating what is showing up in your life. And if you don't like what's out there, then you have to change it in here. The heart is pronounced during this time. The heart is the inner fire. Stoke that fire in your heart. What do you love? What is it that makes you feel alive and makes you open to the experience that is this time, which is lit. We're going into the portal, the 8-8 portal, which many say is super powerful. I believe that it is. The sun is rising to some extent, with still under the rays of the powerful force that is Cyrus. And so we're going into a time where these two luminaries meet in the heavens, and as above, so below, and as within, so without. So much love for you here. I trust that you are all well. Take really good care of yourselves and each other. Much love. Thank you for being here. If you like, please share and subscribe, and leave a message. Tell me what you're experiencing during this time, that we are all like really stoked or getting stoked, right? Because these 2 days are super important to really get clear, paint, draw, sing, speak within. It's a time for self-empowerment. I love you all. Take real good care, and I'll see you here soon. Bye.